And literally, I wanted us to have the conversation because one of the things I think that was happening as I was kind of feeling the emotions and seeing a little bit more and hearing a little bit more information about what had transpired during that whole situation was I felt like the Lord had impressed on me like that active fathers is an answer to the problem of active shooters.
Active fathers.
Active fathers are part of the prevention of active shooters.
Expand on that, bro.
So what I'm thinking about, like, you know, I honestly feel like a lot of the problems that we see in our society come from the whole thing of a lot of men are out there and they're not rejecting passivity. Mm-hmm. A lot of men are out there and there might be fathers that are there at the home, but they're not there at the home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm saying
absent.
Active. Yeah, they're present, but they're absent.
Yeah.
And so for me, I just felt like this saying, and you can debate me, and you can be you can disagree with the fact of fathers not making that much of a difference to you in your opinion, but I honestly believe that literally if we had active fathers, more active fathers, that it would make all the difference in the world.
Right.
I'm just thinking like this, you know, people have asked the question like, how do our communities get terrorized? Why are our communities get terrorized? Because it's always easy to recognize when, you know, stuff goes bad in our community or the bad actors that are in our community. And really the answer is, somebody has said the answer is that the monster that terrorizes your community is the little kid that you never took time to get involved in their life. It's the little kid that passed by you all the time, ripping and running down the street, but you never, out of inconvenience of yourself, you never took time to say, hey, little Johnny, where you going?
Yeah.
What you up to? What you gonna be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just invading their space or inviting them into your world, and how just simple questions like that could make a world of difference. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I understand people want to blame everything on mental health, but a lot of that happens to be a result of the absence of active fathers and men.
Yeah, if I could jump in, man, because what it sounds like you saying really is like there's two levels, right? Because initially when I heard active fathers, I'm thinking like directly my dad, you know, your dad, JR's dad, but what you just were describing also is a sense of community. Like Brother Carlos always said, you know, every man is a father figure to somebody.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I mean? So right now in society, it's like there's this disconnect where it's like if you're not in my home, I'm not as concerned with you. Like the neighborhood connection, you know what I mean?
Right.
The community connection, to tap in with somebody and be like, oh, I don't care if you're my kid or not. I'm still looking out for you. Did your mom say, you know, you should be look both ways for you across the street? That type of love and that type of connection is lacking. I mean, it's true.
One of the things that I've learned, this is through leadership. This is a whole other like sector of kind of thinking. But like I've realized when like discipling people, raising people up, being a father figure to kids, whatever, is like I have to be able to be willing to invest in that kid and not just tell him the one time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like I'm invested in you to tell you when you're wrong and when you're cutting up and when something's happening.
Yeah.
Like same thing I would expect for somebody to do to my kids, family members and people here at the church. Like, hey, if you see Mariah cutting up, say something to her.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, but be invested also to affirm them when you see the little bit of good that they do too.
Right.
part.
That becomes a thing where it's like, I just don't want to be right, and I just don't want to be, in the position just like to tell you because I'm the older person. But it's like, hey, I want to be invested in your future, not because I want credit, but because, hey, we need more people to kind of be on the same level. That makes, I don't know where I'm going with this, but just kind of like we need more people to not get to the point where they feel like they have to go shoot up a school, they have to go terrorize a community in order to,
to prove some kind of
prove
crazy
something, yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But here's even more so what I mean, and to give you a better illustration of active fathers. So think about this. Imagine if in each community that you had just 4 or 5 fathers that on a volunteer basis are allowed to be on campuses.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine what that impact would be? I'm talking about four or 5 fathers that, what I'm saying, they're from that neighborhood that are there just hanging out. And whether it's like they got some kind of like, security command center where they're just sitting there, just keep an eye on things. Maybe during passing periods, recess, they're walking the campus, they walk around, help resolve some conflicts here and there. Help get the kids across the street in the crosswalk and stuff like that. But they're just there. Their presence is there.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that if there were men like that on that campus, that boy would even made it past the perimeter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just saying like it's the thing of you see somebody that may look suspicious in the area, young kid. Like he might be up to no good, or he just kind of don't look right. You know what I'm saying? For a man to just be like, "Hey, young man, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah.
You look like maybe you got something going on. Is there something I can help you with?
Right.
Just something." Men that are willing to engage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Men that aren't just being passive and waiting for, because we're so reactive when it comes to stuff like this. This is why stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the last time that there's been a mass death from being trapped in a burning building?
Wait, talk to me. What you mean? Tell me.
So I'm saying, when's the last time that there's been multiple deaths as a result of being trapped in a burning building?
Somebody makes a way for people to get out.
Well, it's not just that, but think about how often we have fire drills.
Got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Got
How
you.
often do we have fire drills?
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why. Because
Gotcha.
like people recognize, as soon as I smell smoke, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They've created alarm systems. What I'm saying is that these active fathers can be alarm systems. Like you can't tell me that all of a sudden this boy woke up that morning and was like, yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and go and do this.
It was progressively getting worse.
It was progressive.
Facts.
There was something wrong. Somebody seen that boy was off.
Yeah.
Right. And just ignored it and didn't do anything. Didn't actively get involved. Hey, young man, how about we go and do some therapy? How about we get together with some other young men and we do a managing emotions group?
Facts.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? These are things that I'm looking at that we in our communities could be doing. And then let's go to the answer, the $1 million question of, okay, well, where are we going to get the money for programs like this? Can I just say this, that when the panorama struck and they had stations where people were getting jabbed, that agencies were willing to allow their employees to go and work those stations and still pay them out of their regular work week so they could go do that for the sake of community safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is why not have these different agencies, whether they're government agencies or private agencies, corporations, so to speak, that I can't think of any corporation or business that wouldn't want to contribute to the safety of their community, that would say, you know what, okay, any of you gentlemen that want to that are fathers or want to help father the community, I'm gonna make a provision in your work week for one day out of the week for you to go and serve at your local elementary school, high school, middle school, and that'll be your shift for the day.
That's what's interesting, bro. I'm hearing you saying this because it kind of made me flash back to the short amount of time I was able to volunteer at the middle school is when you make yourself present to a fatherless generation, you start to realize that they're not used to accountability and availability. Because a lot of the kids that I was noticing, even on the middle school level, they didn't have anybody that was holding them accountable to be at school on time. They didn't have anybody holding them accountable to make sure that their grades are right. They didn't have anybody holding them accountable to how they treated other adults.
Watch this. You mean you actually care whether I get in trouble or not?
Right.
Right.
Like that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And it seems to the point where it's like I would have kids come up to my door, my cubby, whatever. It's kind of funny. Grandma had a cubby, but anyways, like the snack bar. But anyways, I never thought about it till now. It was like they would talk any kind of way around me. I'm like, hey, I almost said it, President. Hey, you don't talk like that around me. You don't talk to me like that. Oh, my bad. Now it became a thing like, now that that generation of kids is a little bit older, hey, I remember you. You were the dude that was at the school like 2-3 times a week. I'm like, yeah. He's like, what's up, man? How you doing? He's like, doing good. So now there becomes a thing where like, okay, now I have somebody that's been consistent in my life. Because it was crazy. Like even kids that would come to our youth group where it's like, bro, why are you walking into school at 1:00?
Yeah. Man, bro.
But what's going on? He's like, oh, well, I kind of overslept. Bro, you need to be at school.
Yeah.
All right, I will.
Yeah, man, that goes a long way. Jay, going back to, I felt once again a theme. We've all heard the saying, a team is only as good as their weakest player, right? And essentially this puts the responsibility on each individual of the community to look out and say, what could I have done to father over, or even to mother over, right, that particular child, because it's easy to point the finger. Anytime anything goes wrong, first question that most people ask is, well, how did you, da-da-da. But what is it that I could have done to prevent the situation from happening? And it just takes me back to when you say, like, if we had fathers present, like the presence of a father, the covering, the protection. Like after my pops passed and that covering was gone, I literally felt it in the atmosphere. Like if you ever think about when anybody, it doesn't matter who it is, got into the most trouble that they ever got into, ask yourself, where were your parents? You know what I mean? Or where was the authority? You know what I mean? Who was looking after you at that time? And when my pops was out the picture, I started wilding. And not only did I start wilding out, it's crazy. I felt like things actually started to be brought to me. Like ways that he was covering us and going before us and things that he was doing to protect us in ways that we didn't even know. Now things start creeping out the woodworks in different avenues and it's actually making its way to us now. You know what I mean? And I think we underestimate like the value and the power of a covering.
Yeah.
Bro, like that listen, we went from, if you look at the pattern of society here in America, you look at the pattern, there's a reason why they called it television programming.
Yeah.
Right? I know y'all are too young to remember it. I'm barely old enough to remember it, but television used to have what you would consider the nuclear family on there, right? Which is, husband, wife, mom, dad, children. And the dad was a respectable character. Now we've gone from father knows best, the active father, example, disciplinarian, protector, provider, to American Dad.
Family Guy,
right? we've gone all the way to that where the dad is a butt of a joke. He's just a prop there in the home. We don't really need him. Mom is the one who is really the smart one, and she has all the brains and she has all the know-how and everything. And the kids can talk to him however they want to, so to speak, and he's completely passive or passive aggressive. And again, we've bought into it as a society that dads are they're not really around, and if they are, it doesn't really make much of a difference. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's gonna make a difference with active fathers being present. Just the presence of active fathers being around, because like you can go to a school and trip over a mom volunteering.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? We see that all the time. That's not an anomaly. There's nothing out of the ordinary about that. But if you see fathers, and I'm talking about strong men, I'm not talking about just a dude that's just loafing around. I'm talking about actively engaging. You know what I'm saying? Opening doors. They're serving. That's what I'm talking about. That's what kids need to see.
You know what the funny thing about it too is, like, I always hear my stepdad's been like in the educational field for a long time now. Is he'll say, I'm just letting you know, as a youth pastor, don't be trying to be them kids' friends. He's like, you got to be a figure in their life. He's like, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to relate to them and try to get them to talk to you, but it's like they need authority. They need accountability, because otherwise, if you're trying to be their friend, they're just going to treat you like they treat the rest of their friends, because they need you to be that in their life.
Boundaries and limits are a blessing from God.
Right.
Absolutely. Y'all remember that video that had went viral of those two young brothers who was about to fight, and then the gentleman came in, stepped in, and was like, "Hey,
What are y'all doing?
What are y'all doing?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he was fathering them. Clearly, he wasn't the biological father to either of them, but his presence changed the whole situation. And actually watching them talk to each other, they were like, bro, it was something dumb. They didn't even really remember what they was fighting over. You know what I mean? But if kids are left to their own devices, these are the types of things that they get into. And later on down the line, that ends up being, oh, now I got beef with him. Oh, now I got to go back and roll up on him. And now it's like, for what?
The fact that you bring that up, and I was kind of wondering if we can change gears, because I kind of want to spotlight something real quick.
Come on.
One of the things, Donald, that you're working on is your project that you did, and you kind of commemorated to your dad. Being obviously using that medium to kind of express the different stages of grief. How important do you guys feel that, like, especially young men, how important do you think it is for them to understand how to process their emotion? Especially with grief, because I think it's a very creative way in you doing that. To my memory, I don't know of any other artist that has expressed the levels of grief in that way. So how important do you guys think it is for young men to be able to learn how to process their emotions?
I think it's vital. Again, going back to society, the message that it gives to young men is that the only emotions that you're allowed to express are extreme excitement or extreme anger and rage.
Yeah.
That at least that's what's depicted. And so I think it's vital for a young man to recognize and be able to articulate what it is that he's feeling. Because one of the most common emotions that send young men over the edge is embarrassment or shame. Embarrassment or shame. And it comes out as anger. And the reason why it comes out as anger is because they're expected to be angry. And a lot of times it's because they don't want to admit, or they're made to feel further embarrassment and shame if they admit to the fact that I'm embarrassed or I'm ashamed or that I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it's crucial for every young man to be able to learn how to regulate and express and talk about his emotions. I really like Jason Wilson. I don't know if you guys ever follow him. He's the martial artist guy. Dude, he's awesome. I plan on getting his book, because he just dropped a book called War Cry, and it talks about men learning how to work through their emotions and express themselves and talk about their emotions, and not to just fall into the stereotype that I was just talking about. But you see videos of him in his class helping young boys learn how to express their emotions and not just hold it in, or not give this facade of what it is that they're experiencing at the moment. And so for me, that was just one of the ways that I was able to kind of let people in and know like kind of just the things that I was feeling in regards to the passing of my father, and hoping that maybe it translates over and helps somebody else kind of feel some of the feelings that they're feeling that might be going through the grieving process as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's extremely important because the things that you don't communicate about, you can start to create like false beliefs around them, false ideologies, and move forward thinking that something was one way when it really wasn't.
Yeah.
I think I told you recently, Donald, because of your project, and I was listening to, I think it was Bargaining.
Bargaining, yeah.
It was Bargaining. Shout out to that, y'all. Go back and listen to that track. I literally was listening to that beat, and it took me back to the day I got news that Pops committed suicide. I kid you not. And I started writing to it and writing about that day, and I ended up like talking Nadia through that situation like that. I just went and relived the entire thing. And the next day I called my cousin because I was actually with her. We were spending the night at her house the day it happened. And for the longest, I was experiencing grief, and I was angry at myself because we got the opportunity to choose. My mom asked us, do you want to go to the airport to go pick your dad up? Or do you want to go to Marine World with Brittany, PJ, and Jamila? I still don't ride rides to this day. You know? And I went. We didn't even get inside of Marine World. My cousin was using my mom's pass, and one of her, I guess, friends from high school saw it. Confiscated the pass. We didn't even get in. And then later that night, they came in town, and my dad was supposed to be at the house, and then the next day we got news. But after listening to grief, I went back and I called my big cousin Brittany, and I was just talking her through it. Like, since I had been I was like, do you remember that day? And she was like, yeah. And she doesn't even answer. She's 3 hours ahead, and we talked. But anyways, I was like, yeah, my mom, I remember her asking me, do I want to go to Marine World or go to your house? And she was like, let me just stop you right there, Josh, because you were 9, and I was very cognizant of what was going on. But she was like, but you weren't old enough to really peep everything that was going on. She was like, you didn't have a choice. You didn't have a choice whether or not to go. She was like, we had to bribe you and convince you to come. You wanted to go to the airport, but we had to make you want to stay. And that was like, in that moment was like,
oh,
yeah,
wow.
you know what I'm saying? It lifted from me. That was over 20 years ago. I thought I had the choice, but really they gave me options, but they had already pre-selected which way I was supposed to go. Yeah. So the importance of people talking through, and even I would highly, highly, highly suggest, because y'all are in the midst of your season right now, when you guys come out of the fight afterwards, for all of y'all to sit down and talk about everything. And I'm sure you guys will be amazed at the way God was working and, and speaking to you and what he was talking to you about at the same time, and how when you was listening to, that Maverick City, you know what I mean? Like those types of things were happening all throughout.
So here's the crazy part about that, right? Hold on real quick. So here's the crazy part about that, right? So I didn't tell him this. This is just personal time. Nobody knew this.
Yeah.
I had been listening to Have My Heart for like 3 weeks straight.
Wow.
Like if I can go back and show you the analytics on my phone, like I'm not lying to you. Even to the point where weeks ago I tell Isabella, hey, I usually don't make song requests, but can we do Have My Heart on You Sunday?
Wow.
I feel like the Lord is leading me in this direction for the message.
Wow.
Then to hear him preach the week before, I just felt like, I forgot what the story exactly, but him to say that Dad was singing Have My Heart was on his mind, and Have My Heart was on my mind and my heart all at the same time. And it was just kind of like Holy Spirit knew what he was doing.
Yeah, bro.
And like you were saying how with pastor receiving a new heart, it's like the whole church received a new heart.
Yeah.
And like he knew what he was orchestrating. It's almost like one of those things where like when I was telling you, I didn't really pry into how your dad, lost his life.
Yeah.
Because I kind of knew it was kind of like a hard situation to talk about when we first met.
Yeah.
But I've never heard you openly talk about it more recently than ever since I've known you. We've known each other for what, like 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, going on. Yeah, 5. Yeah.
So it's like just to see what God is doing in your life, and for your cousin to kind of go, let me just set you free from that right now.
That was
Because
Right.
you could tell I get that part from like you holding something as a kid and taking this responsibility that was never yours in the first place.
Yeah.
And then you take it into an adulthood and it shapes you into the man that you become.
Yes.
And so I think that, like you said, like those conversations need to be had. And I think we should like just talk to people. A part of me, maybe that's what, the Holy Spirit's been kind of pricking at me about my brother.
Yeah.
Is like he needs to be able to hear it from people that are going through it like him, and to be able to have that talk. And something that kind of got a place in my heart just recently is like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the kids movie Inside Out.
Yeah.
About like sadness, right?
Yeah.
That when that sadness isn't necessarily a negative emotion,
Right.
But it's meant for you to reflect.
Yep.
And ultimately, like kind of going back to the part of young men is when we have to reflect on what happened and the reality of what's happening, then we tend to respond in anger in a way that protects us because ultimately we become afraid.
Yeah.
And I think that, there's nothing wrong with you being sad. Just know how to navigate sadness, know how to reflect on it, come to terms with it, and then come to, what's the final one? Is it acceptance?
Acceptance.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's almost like a mini grief cycle. Like,
and
sadness.
that's why the project is like, what's funny is a lot of people were like, the project's only like 13 minutes long. And literally that's what it was, because for one, I wanted each phase to be short enough for you to kind of just like get a sample of like what it is and how it feels. And basically the way that the songs are set up is in a way where if you just decide you want to repeat one because that's what's resonating with you, it'll virtually play seamless. Once you repeat it, you'll virtually just be on a loop. And but I also wanted it to where like people could listen to every phase of it and be like, wow, that's kind of, hopefully it resonates with them and it kind of articulates what those feelings are. But also at the same time, I significantly believe that they're short, each and on their own, because I don't think that God wants us to wallow.
Don't stay
that.
here too long.
You know what I'm saying? Not to stay
hearing
there.
that.
Yeah.
Don't be here too long.
Yeah. And so
that's I don't know if that was intentional, but that's fire. No, seriously, because it's like it's only 13 minutes, and it's almost like it's not meant to be a project for you to enjoy for a long time. It's for a season.
Yeah.
There's a season of grief. If you think about David, he's like, I've done my grieving.
Yeah.
Now it's time for me to move on.
Yeah.
And I love stuff like that.
Dang.
Yeah, but dude, just hearing. I remember when I first had put out the song on IG, and dude, that blessed me for when you hit me up and told me about that, because that ultimately, like, I always want my music to have a purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, my prayer whenever I make something is like, Lord, help this find its home. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be more than just somebody to just admire my art for what it is. I honestly believe that I'm creating a soundtrack for somebody's life. You know what I'm saying? And for me to hear like how that's had an impact on you, like basically you just saying that it helped lead you into a process of being set free in an area of your life, which is like huge. That's like means everything. That means more than any kind of accolade or
That's the
trophy.
Grammy.
Yeah, that is. That's
20 years, bro.
major.
I was carrying that for 20 years. 20 years. Never had talked to her about it, ever. But listening to that track, bro, brought me to a space where I knew I needed to go on that ride again. And that's the other thing I was actually talking to Tira about. 'Cause around you dropped that project, how soon after Pops passed?
Shoot, man, probably. I don't know, man. Like probably like a couple of weeks.
Just after the funeral.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks. We were talking about it, y'all having lost the Pops and me losing the Pops, and I was just telling her like, it's like it's like going on a ride, you know, at an amusement park, and kind of going back and viewing the whole situation from like a new perspective every time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like watching a movie over and over again. You pick up something different every time, you know, and sometimes and I see it with my own family members. My mom doesn't like to go on that ride. She doesn't like to have that conversation. Caleb doesn't like to have that conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I know out of my family members, I've gone on the ride the most times with the most amount of people. And what I've learned is that when you start talking to people and you're able to start putting the pieces together, like in your greatest like grief and your hardest times, that's when you see just how tangible God really is.
Yeah.
You know, and how in the details he was. Like the last time we went out to St. Louis, I was talking to my auntie last year, and she was talking to me about this moment, how after my pops passed, like when we went out there for the wedding, she was saying she was depressed and she wasn't able to talk about it for a long time. And she said that she'll never forget when her when my cousin had came up to her and asked her, why are you walking, so when are you gonna stop walking so slow and talking so low? Because she was on depressive medication, right? Or antidepressant medication.
Yeah, antidepressant, yeah.
And she said that, and my mom was talking to my grandfather. And I called my mom over here, and I was like, Mom, tell Auntie Jackie about how you got off your medication. Because my mom was taking medication after my pops passed. And she said, Josh came up to me one night and said, Mom, when are you going to stop walking so slow and talking so low? 2,000 miles apart. We hadn't even, this is over 20 years later. My little cousin said the same thing to her aunt. You know what I'm saying? That I said to my mom, and they both threw the pills away same night.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, so when you hear testimonies, like when I heard your testimony 2 Sundays ago,
Yeah.
like for some people it may be unfathomable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you've
coincidental.
Or coincidental. You know what I mean? But when you experience it for yourself, you're like, no, God is just that good.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how you painted it, Josh, as I've been on this ride before and I've been able to kind of come to terms with it. But my mom, I can tell my mom can't. My brother can't. You know, I'll be praying for sure that you might be the one that has to like, hey, take my hand. We're going on this ride together.
Facts, yeah.
To the point where it's like, I think, and again, we kind of take it for granted where we think of because of our age or maybe just because of where we've been, like we don't have the tools to kind of help set people free.
Yeah.
Because if you've been set free, that kind of gives you the testimony to help other people get set free.
Facts.
And that kind of, who knows how many people went through what you went through.
Right.
So
You're being set free and helping to lead other people to freedom as well.
mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny because like I forget who it was that I saw the other day, and they were talking about like just evangelism. Like some people were saying like I don't know if I can evangelize because I'm waiting to be, basically like having the attitude I'm waiting to be perfected in order to evangelize, and it's like, oh, so die then. You know what I'm saying? Like so die then. Like what are you saying? You know what I mean? So it's crazy how you know I've really held on to, you know, that statement that Atira made about you can be powerful and in process at the same time. You be powerful and in process at the same time, man. So we don't have to wait for perfect conditions, but just the fact of every little bit of freedom that we get, we cherish it and we share that.
Amen.
and
Amen.
You know, help other people along the way. So yeah, man, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Y'all, is that how we ending it? Is that it?
I think that is how we ended it.
Is that it?
Man, this is what, for us, our 9th time filming together, and I think we're kind of getting a hang of it, and we hope that y'all are getting a hang of us.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is Watch Me Develop, bro. Go out and get my brother Donald's project. whether it's 13 minutes or not, go
Grab
run
that.
them. Go run them up.
Grooves to grieve, baby.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're here, man, for all of us to develop. If y'all got any topics, whatever y'all want to hear us talk about, and shouts out to our community, bro. We hit 150.
Hey,
What?
We hit 150 a couple days ago.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what's
We got to get some.
You know what I
nice
think we
for
need to
y'all.
do? You know what I think we need to do, bro? Like, there are a couple people that have been on my heart that have been like the day ones. We got to make some gear for them.
Okay.
And let them show it off.
For sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna be reaching out to y'all through the Watch Me Develop page, and y'all better answer. I need your shirt sizes, and we'll get it popping.
Well, yeah, for real,
sure.
for real. Yeah, man, it's funny that you mentioned our community, man, because I literally got a call out of nowhere this past week. Shout out to Big Stowe out there.
Oh, Kev?
Kev,
Oh,
Kev
yeah.
hit me up, man. And bro, I was so blessed by his call, man, because he just shared that. He said, man, I've been, he basically was telling me he's been on the hamster wheel, working, married with children, taking care of everything. His wife's got a business going. He's got a business that he's like hasn't been able to give much attention to because he's out there trying to provide, man, and he's trading time for money right now. Like a lot of us are. Like I've been in the same boat. But he said, man, he happened to come across one of the episodes and then he like just binge watched
I'm with it.
he binge watched like 10 episodes straight. And he said, man, it blessed him and like literally got him right. And he was like, man, now I know what I'm supposed to do.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, dude, that's exactly what we
Salute.
That's exactly what
Praise
we did
God.
this for,
6.5,
man. It's for
7 hours worth of content.
yeah.
Praise God,
That's
bro.
what we did. So, man, shout out to Kev. Shout out to everybody else that feels the same way. Please let us know because we want to. We need the encouragement too, man. To continue going. We're gonna go regardless. You know what I'm saying? Keep going because it's about the spirit of consistency.
Right.
Yeah.
But but please let us know your testimonies, man. How we've impacted you so far. And
And another thing too, if you're watching and you're not, and this isn't about our follower count, our subscriber count, we don't know if you're there unless you're connected. Almost like we run like a little
Right.
mini church here,
Right,
man.
man. Like-
But get connected with us, bro. Follow us, subscribe. That way we know
Now.
and we can help.
Now, if you want
Do it
to
now.
subscribe.
Hey, man,
Press the
look.
button. Where's the button? Press it.
Because at the end of the day, eventually, what's where we're moving to is we're gonna have some things that we're putting together that we have in the works right now that are gonna benefit those that are committed. And so, please keep an eye out on that because we do have some stuff coming up, and you're not gonna want to miss it. We got some you think we dropping game here? We got some stuff. We ain't giving y'all all the secret sauce, but we got the secret sauce for those that are committed. So just make sure that you stay tapped in.
All boats rise with the tide, okay? You get in the tide, everybody rises with us, okay?
Yep.
So,
So on that note. Hey, man, thank y'all for tuning in. This is Watch Me Develop Podcast. I'm Don the Baptist, 1/3 of Watch Me Develop Podcast. Got to my right, John Butcher Jr. To my left, fresh to death, Stephen Joshua Bonds.
I need a gold
and
chain.
we're signing off.
That's how Ergo Dog's doing? You got gold chain?
Ergo
man.
Dog with the gold chain.
I'm going to give y'all a quick one. Jackson, sponsor me. Jackson.
OBJ.
Top dollar with the gold. Top.
You feel me?
Josh Bonds Ergo leash. Top dollar with the gold flea collar. You feel me? All right, y'all. We out. Deuces.
Peace.